The Question of King Milinda, translated by T.W. Rich Davids. Part 2, Book 4, Chapter 8. Dilemma, the 21st VESSANTARA'S Giving. Venerable Nagasena, do all the Bodhisattvas give away their wives and children? Or was it only Vessantara the king who did so? All of them do so, not Vessantara only. Do they then give them away with their own consent? The wife, O king, was a consenting party, but the children, by reason of their tender age, lamented. Had they thoroughly understood, they too would have approved. A hard thing, Nagasena, was it that the Bodhisattva carried out, in that he gave away his own children, his only ones, dearly beloved, into slavery to the Brahman. And this second action was harder still, that he bound his own children, his only ones, and dearly beloved, young and tender, though they were with the jungle rope, and then when he saw them being dragged along by the Brahman, their hands bruised by the creeper, yet could look on at the sight. And this third action was even harder still, that when his boy ran back to him after losing the bonds by his own exertion, then he bound him again with a jungle rope, and again gave him away. And this fourth action was even harder still, that when the children, weeping, crying, "Father dear, this ogre is leading us away to eat us," he should have appeased them by saying, "Don't be afraid." And this fifth action was even harder still, that when the prince, Kali, fell weeping at his feet and besought him, saying, "Be satisfied, Father dear, only keep Ganhakina, his little sister. I will go away with the ogre, let him eat me," that even then he would not yield. And this sixth action was even harder still, that when the boy, Kali, lamenting, exclaimed, "Have you a heart of stone then, Father, that you can look upon us miserable, being led away by the ogre in the dense and haunted jungle, and not call us back?" Then he still had no pity. And this seventh action was even harder still, that when his children were thus led away to nameless horrors, until they passed gradually to their bitter fate, out of sight, that then his heart did not break, utterly break. What, pray, has the man who seeks to gain merit to do with bringing sorrow on others? Should he not rather give himself away? It is because what he did, O king, was so difficult, that the sound of the fame of the Bodhisattva was spread abroad among gods and men, through the 10,000 world systems, that the gods exalt him in heaven, and the Titans in the Titan world, and the Garudas in the abodes, and the Nagas in the Naga world, and the Yaksas where they dwell, that through the ages of reputation of this his glory has been handed down by successive tradition till now, today, it hath reached to this meeting of ours, at which we sitting are, forsooth, disparaging and casting a slur on that gift, debating whether it were well given or ill. But then high praise, O king, show forth the 10 great qualities of the intelligent and wise and able and subtle-minded Bodhisattvas. And what are the 10? Freedom from greed, the not clinging to any worldly aim, self-sacrifice, renunciation, the never turning back again to the lower state, the equal delicacy and greatness, the incomprehensibility, the rarity, and the peerlessness of Buddhahood. In all these respects is it that the fame of that giving shows forth the great qualities of the Bodhisattvas. What? Venerable Nagasena, who give gifts in such a way as to bring sorrow upon others, does that giving of his bring forth fruit in happiness, that it lead to rebirth instead of bliss? Yes, O king, what can be said to the contrary? I pray you, Nagasena, give me a reason for this. Suppose, O king, there were some virtuous samana or brahman of high characters, and he were paralyzed, or crippled, or suffering from some disease or other, and some man desirous of merit were to have him put into a carriage and taken to the place he wished to go to. Would happiness accrue to that man by reason thereof? Would that be an act leading to rebirth in states of bliss? Yes, sir. What can be said to the contrary? That man would thereby acquire a trained elephant, or a riding horse, or a bullock carriage, on land a land vehicle, and on water a water vehicle, in heaven a vehicle of the gods, and on earth one that men could use. From birth to birth there would accrue to him that, which in each would be appropriate and fit, and joys appropriate would come to him, and he would pass from state to state of bliss, and by the efficacy of that act mounting on the vehicle of iti, he would arrive at the long forego, the city of Nirvana itself. But then, O king, a gift given in such a way as to bring sorrow upon others does bring forth fruit in happiness, does lead to rebirth instead of bliss, inasmuch as that man by putting the cart bullock to pain would attain such bliss. And here another reason, O king, for the same thing. Suppose some monarch were to raise from his subjects a righteous tax, and then by the issue of a command were to bestow thereof the gift. Would that monarch, O king, enjoy any happiness on that account? Would that be a gift leading to rebirth instead of bliss? So tell it, sir, what can be said against it? On that account, the monarch would receive 100,000-fold. He might become a king of kings, a god above the gods, or Brahma lord of the Brahma gods, or a chief among the samanas, or a leader of the Brahmans, or the most excellent among the arahats. Then, O king, a gift given in such a way as to bring sorrow upon others does bring forth fruit in happiness, does lead to rebirth in states of bliss, inasmuch as that monarch, by giving as a gift what was gained by harassing his people with taxation, would enjoy such exceeding fame and glory. But, Venerable Nagasena, what was given by Vesantara the king was an excessive gift, in that he gave his own wife as wife to another man, and his own children, his only ones, into slavery to a Brahman. And excessive giving is by the wise in the world here worthy of censure and of blame. Just Nagasena, as under too much weight, the axle tree of a cart would break, or a ship would sink, as his food would disagree with him who ate too much, or the crops would be ruined by too heavy rain or bankruptcy, would follow too lavish generosity, or fever would come from too much heat, or a man would go mad from excessive lust, or become guilty of an offense through excessive anger, or fall into sin through excessive stupidity, or into the power of robbers through too much avarice, or be ruined by needless fear, or as a river would overflow through excessive inflow, or a thunderbolt fall through too much wind, or porridge boy overthrow too hot a fire, or a man who wander about too much would not live long just. So, Nagasena, is excessive giving held by the wise in the world as worthy of censure and of blame, and as King Vesantara's gift was excessive, no good result would be expected from it. Giving excessively, O king, is praised, applauded, and approved by the wise in the world, and they who give away anything as a gift just as it may occur to them acquire fame in the world as very generous givers. Just, O king, as when a man has taken hold of a wild root which by its extraordinary virtues is divine, that moment he becomes invisible even to those landing within arm's length, just as a medicinal herb, by the exceeding power of its nature, will utterly cure pain, and put an end to disease, just as fire burns by its exceeding heat, and water puts that fire out by its exceeding cold, just as by its exceeding purity a lotus remains undefiled by water or by mud, just as a magic gem, by the extraordinary virtue inherent in it, procure the granting of every wish, just as lightning by its marvelous quick sharpness clips, as under even the diamonds, pearls, and crystals, just as the earth by its exceeding size can support men, and snakes, and wild beasts, and birds, and waters, and rocks, and hills, and trees, just as the ocean by its exceeding greatness can never be quite filled, just as the Nehru by its mighty weight remains immovable, and space by the greatness of its wide extent is infinite. And the sun by its mighty glory dissipates the darkness, just as the lion in the greatness of its lineage is free from fear, just as a wrestler in the greatness of his might easily lifts up his foe, just as a king by the excellence of his justice become overlord, and a bhikkhu by reason of his very righteousness become an object of reverence to nagas and yaksa and men and maras, just as a Buddha by the excellence of his supremacy is peerless, just so, O king, is exceeding generosity praised, applauded, and approved by the wise in the world, and they who give away anything as a gift, just as it may occur to them, acquire in the world the fame of being nobly generous. And by his mighty giving, Vesantara the king, O king, was praised and lauded and exalted and magnified and famous throughout the 10,000 world systems. And by reason too of that mighty giving is it that he, the king Vesantara, has now in our days become the Buddha, the chief of gods and men. And now, O king, tell me, is there anything in the world which should be withheld as a gift and not bestowed, when one worthy of a gift, one to whom it is one's duty to give is there? There are 10 sorts of gifts, Nagasena, in the world that are commonly disapproved of as gifts. And what are the 10? Strong drink, Nagasena, and festival in high places, and women and buffaloes, and suggestive paintings, and weapons, and poison, and chains, and fowls, and swine, and false ways, and measures. All these, Nagasena, are disapproved of in the world as gifts, and those who give such presents become liable to rebirth instead of woe. I did not ask you, O king, what kinds of gifts are not approved of by these, O king. I asked, is there anything in the world which ought to be withheld and not bestowed as a gift, if one worthy of a gift were present? No, sir. When faith arises in their hearts, some give food to those worthy of gifts, and some give clothes, and some give bedding, and some give dwellings, and some give mats or robes, and some give slave girls or slaves, and some give fields or premises, and some give bipes or quadrupeds, and some give 100 or 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, and some give the kingdom itself, and some give away even their own life. But then, O king, if some give away even their own lives, why do you so violently attack Vesantara, that king of givers, for the virtuous bestower of his child and wives? Is there not a general practice in the world, an acknowledged custom, according to which it is allowable for a father who has fallen into debt or lost his livelihood to deposit his son in pledge or sell him? Yes, this is so. Well, in accordance therewith, was it that Vesantara, O king, in suffering and distress at not having obtained the insight of the omniscient one's pledge, and so his wife and children for that spiritual treasure, so that he gave away what other people had given away. He did what other people had done. Why then do you, O king, so violently attack him, the king of givers? Venerable Nagasena, I don't blame him for giving, but for not having made a barter with the beggar, or given away himself rather instead of his wife and children. That, O king, would be an act of a wrongdoer, to give himself when he was asked for his wife and children. for the thing he asks for, whatever it is that which ought to be given, and such is the practice of the good. Suppose, O king, a man were to ask that water should be brought, would anyone who then brought him food have done what he wanted? No, sir. The man who should have given what he first asked to be brought would have done what he wanted. Just so, O king, when the Brahman asked Vesantara the king for his wife and children, it was his wife and children that he gave. If the Brahman, O king, had asked for Vesantara's body, then would Vesantara have not saved his body. He would neither have trembled nor been stained by the love of self, but would have given away and abandoned his own body. If, O king, anyone had come up to Vesantara the king and asked of him, saying, "Become my slave," then would he have given away and abandoned his own self, and in so giving would he have felt no pain? Now the life of King Vesantara, O king, was a good thing shared in by many, just as meats, when cooked, are shared in by many, or as a tree covered with fruit is shared in by many flocks of birds. And why so? Because he has said to himself, "Thus adding may I attain to Buddhahood, as a man in need, O king, who is wandering about in his search after wealth, will have to pass along goat tracks and through jungles full of stakes and sticks, and doing merchandise by sea and land, will devote his actions, words, and thoughts to the attainment of wealth. Just so, O king, did Vesantara, the king of givers, who was longing for the treasure of Buddhahood, for the attainment of the insight of the omniscient ones, by offering up to anyone who begged of him his property and his corn, his slave girls and his slaves, his riding animals and carriage, or that he possessed his wife and children and himself, seek after the supreme enlightenment. Just, O king, as an official who is anxious for the seal and for the office of the custody thereof, will exert himself to the attainment of the seal, by sacrificing everything in his house, property and corn, gold and silver, everything. Just so, O king, did Vesantara, the king of givers, by giving away all that he had, inside his house and out, by giving even his life for others, seek after the supreme enlightenment. And further, O king, Vesantara, the king of givers, thought thus, "It is by giving to him precisely what he asked for that I shall be of service to the Brahman, and therefore did he bestow upon him his wife and children. It was not, O king, out of dislike to them that he gave them away, not because he did not care to see them more, not because he considered them an encumbrance or thought he could no longer support them, not in annoyance with the wish of being relieved or of what was not pleasant to him, but because the chief treasure of omniscience was dear to him, for the sake of the insight of the omniscient ones, did he bestow that glorious gift, immeasurable, magnificent, unsurpassed, of what was near and dear to him, greatly beloved, cherished as his own life, his own children, and his wife. For it has been said, O king, by the Blessed One, the God of gods, in the Kariya Pitaka, 'Twas not through hatred of my children sweet, 'twas not through hatred of my queen Mari, Troller of hearts, not that I loved them less, but Buddhahood more, that I renounced them all. Now at that time, O king Vesantara, when he had given away his wife and children, entered the leaf hut, and sat down there, and heavy grief fell upon him, distressed by his exceeding love for them, and his very heart became hot and hot-breathed, too much to find its way through the nose, came and went through his mouth, and tears rose in drops of blood from his eyes. Such was the grief, O king, with which Vesantara gave to the Brahman his wife and children, in the thought that his practice of giving should not be broken in upon. But there were two reasons, O king, why he thus gave them away. Why was those two? That his practice of giving should not be interrupted was one. The other was that, as a result of his so doing, his children, distressed by living with him, only on by rules and fruit, should eventually be set free by their new master. For VESSANTARA knew, O king, no one is capable of keeping my children as slaves. Their grandfather will ransom the children, and so they will come back to me. These are the two reasons why he gave his children away to the Brahman. And further, O king, VESSANTARA knew this Brahman is worn out, aged, well stricken in years, weak and broken, leaning on a stick. He has drawn near the end of his days. His merit is small. He will not be capable of keeping my children as slaves. Would a man be able, O king, by his ordinary power to seize the moon and the sun, mighty and powerful as they are, keeping them in a basket or a box, to use them deprived of their light at place? Certainly not, sir. Neither, O king, could anyone whatever keep in use as his slaves the children of VESSANTARA, who were to the world like the moon and the sun in glory. And here another reason, O king, for the same thing, that wondrous gem, O king of a sovereign overlord, bright and beautiful, with its 8 faucets, so well cut, 4 cubits in thickness and in circumference, as the nave of a cartwheel, could no man, wrapping it up in a cloth and putting it into a basket, keep and use as a horn to cry his scissors upon. And neither, O king, could anyone so ever keep in use as his slaves the children of VESSANTARA, like to the jewel of the Lord of the world in glory. And here, O king, another reason, just as the elephant king Uposatha, gentle and handsome, 8 cubits in height and 9 in girth and length, showing the signs of wrath in 3 places on his body, are white, 7-fold firm, could never by anyone be covered up with a saucer or a winnowing fan, could never be put into a cow pit like a calf, or made use of as one. Just so could no one whatever keep in use as his slaves the children of VESSANTARA, who were in the world like Uposatha the elephant king. And here, O king, another reason, just, O king, as the mighty ocean is great in length and breadth and deep, not to be measured and hard to cross, impossible to fathom or to cover up, and no one could close it in and make use of it as a single furry. Just so could no one whatever keep in use as his slaves the children of VESSANTARA, as esteemed in the world as the mighty ocean. And here another reason, O king, just as the Himalaya, the king of the mountains, 5 leagues high and 3,000 leagues in extent at the circumference, with its ranges of 8 and 40,000 peaks, the source of 500 rivers, the dwelling place of multitudes of mighty creatures, the producer of manifold perfumes, enriched with hundreds of magical drugs, is seen to rise aloft like a cloud in the center of the earth, like it, O king. Could no one whatever keep in use as his slaves the children of VESSANTARA, as esteemed in the world as Himalaya, the mountain king? And here another reason, O king, just that a mighty bonfire burning on a mountain top would be visible afar off in the darkness and the gloom of night. So was VESSANTARA the king, well known among men, and therefore could no one whatever keep in use as his slaves the children of so distinguished a man. For just as at the time of the flowering of the Naga trees in the Himalaya mountains, when the soft wind of spring are blowing, the perfume of the flowers is wafted for 10 leagues or for 12, so was the sound of the fame of King VESSANTARA noised abroad, and the sweet perfume of his righteousness wove along for thousands of leagues, even up to the abodes of the Aganita, the highest of all gods. Passing on its way, the dwelling places of the gods and Asuras, of the Garudas and Kantapas, of the Yaksas and Raksasas, of the Mahoragas and Kinnaras, and of Indra, the monarch of the gods. Therefore is it that no one could keep his children as slaves. And the young Prince Kali, O king, was instructed by his father, Vesantara, in these words: When your grandfather, my child, shall ransom you with ware that he gives to the Brahman, let him buy you back for 1,000 ounces of gold. And when he ransom your sister Kanhashkina, let him buy her back for 100 slaves, and 100 slave girls, and 100 elephants, and 100 horses, and 100 cows, and 100 buffaloes, and 100 ounces of gold. And if my child, your grandfather, should take you out of the hands of the Brahman by word of command, or by force, pay nothing, then obey not the words of your grandfather, but remain still in subjection to the Brahman. Such was his instruction as he sent him away. And Yankali went accordingly, and when asked by his grandfather, said, As were 1,000 ounces, sir, my father gave me to this man. As were 100 elephants, he gave the girl Kanhakina. Where has this Pasanagasena been unraveled? Where has the net of hearsay been torn to pieces? Where has the argument of the adversaries been overcome, and your own doctrine been made evident? Where has the letter of the scriptures been maintained while you have thus explained its spirit? That is so, and I accept it as you say. Here ends the dilemma as to VESSANTARA'S gift of his wife and children.